Have you ever had a situation at work where you've had to artfully dodge a comment, question, a theory, and you weren't ready for it? The skills of improvisation, do they come naturally to you or are they something that you've learned over time? Welcome to our podcast, Talent Thrives Here, where we talk to people managing people. Our special guest today is none other than an Emmy-winning improv comedian, host, screenwriter, best-selling author, Mark DeCarlo. Mark teaches professional development and training workshops in a number of corporate environments to help blend his comedy, his story writing, and his improv skills into the workplace. Mark, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Lance, it is a pleasure to be with you today. Thanks for having me on.
Great, great. Question for you. I think your background was Second City and a number of other things. Can you give us a small history lesson of how you sort of got to where you are now?
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago and would go to watch the Second City shows there. Then I went out to UCLA, finished college there. And while I was in college, I started doing comedy and stand-up and improv. And then the Second City opened a theater in Santa Monica, and I was a member of the founding cast there with Ryan Stiles and Brad Sherwood and Andrea Martin and Megan Cavanaugh, a bunch of people. And what they teach us at Second City is the art of improvisation, which is a word that for some reason scares everybody in business, but everybody improvises all day long. Unless you know what's going to happen tomorrow, you're improvising. And what the skill set that I've used in my entertainment career, my writing career, I was pleasantly surprised to see that it translates across the board, apples to apples, into business. You know, if you're trying to beat your competitor, if you're doing the exact same thing that they're doing, you're not going to beat your competitor. You have to think outside the box and all those other cliches. And the way you do that is by teaching people how to level up their ideation, their creativity, and most importantly, their communication skills within their groups and teams. That is ultimately the main skill that you learn at Second City, and I think it's the most important skill you can have in business.
I totally agree with you. You have a correct me if I'm wrong, workshop address something about happiness isn't silly. Am I correct on that? Can you?
That's the title. Happiness isn't silly. So many people poo-poo it or don't realize how important it is to be happy. Ideally, everyone wants to be happy, but in the business world, happy translates to profit and ROI. Happy people have, and these are vetted statistics.
Yeah.
If you're happy, your brain is producing serotonin and dopamine. That pumps into your brain, and that gives you 31% more mental acuity. Instead of being stressed and dealing with incoming information, if you're happy, you're able to see a broader field and a broader array of options to solve whatever problem you have. And too many times in business, managers think the best way to get the best work out of people is screaming and yelling and stressing them out, deadline, 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 when in fact, spending money and resources on happiness training and communication training where the goal is to make everyone happier, which sounds silly if you don't understand the science behind it, actually pays off 300 to 500% in ROI dollars spent.
Right. Yeah. Similar to yourself, I've seen a lot of these happiness studies and I've seen, people building software around it and ways to further engage employees, get them back, get their heads in the game, things like that. It's interesting that I think, to your point too, I think it's overlooked a lot of the time. That's just fluffy stuff.
Well, because it sounds silly. It's like, if you're not happy, go, take a lap, run around, make yourself happy. And it's really, in my experience, the only win-win in business. And whether the people in the C-suite really care that their people are happier doesn't even matter. The facts are, if they are happier and more content, they will be more productive. They will stay with your company longer. So your retention goes up, communication goes up, and productivity and creativity goes up because people are happy to go to work instead of, I hate my job. You don't want those people those people don't help your bottom line and don't help the enterprise. So even if you don't give a crap that people are happier, by helping them become happier, you're helping them in their personal life and you are helping your own bottom line.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Some of the studies we looked at years ago too were like, there's always, the top whatever percentage of the company that's kind of driving, right? They're propelling, and there's a group behind them that get pulled into the vortex, right? So you can get extra productivity amongst those, the median worker that's like, oh, they see behavior and they model the behavior. So like, oh, good things are happening. I'm going there. The problem is that group at the bottom of the folks you mentioned are really burned out. They don't want to go to work. They should have left. They're never going to leave. They don't quit, right? But they suck the energy out of that group in the middle. The ones that you could have tilted upward, sometimes are going to pull down, right? So,
right.
To me, there's a real benefit for, even if it's 1 or 2% better, it's tilting in the right direction, right? It doesn't have to, there's a study years ago, these guys, the Tour de France, where I think it was one of the American coaches, and he said, if I can get 1 second faster, we're doing something right. And he said 1 second per stage adds up 8, 10, 12 seconds. So he said it's minute amounts, but he said the cumulative effect over the course of several days racing, we are now kicking ass. So
right.
It's those sort of things that I think people sometimes look for, like a big change, but even a small subtle change can start some momentum, right? And as long as it's carried through, it can keep going. It can build bigger things. That's my
yeah. And a lot of people just think it's silly. It doesn't, happiness doesn't matter. I'm paying you, come to work and do your job. And as you're referring to, and as I've studied quite a bit, the science, the brain science, the endocrinology, all these things prove that happy people that are content, people that have spent the time themselves to figure out what their purpose in life is, those people perform better. And if you have some people at your business who have found their purpose and their purpose isn't working for you, it's better for both of you to separate, because you're not getting the best out of them. They're not having a good life. And the shakeout from this idea is everyone is happier. And you know what? We're not going to live forever. In my opinion, the only thing that matters in life is trying to be happy and pursuing happiness every single day. You don't always get it, right? But what else? How many cars do you need? How many houses do you need? You can have 12 houses and be miserable. So if you center your life around happiness and chasing happiness and, oh, I'm happy when I'm doing this and I'm miserable when I'm doing that, do less of that and do more of that.
Right. Yeah, it's very simple. Yeah.
It's so simple and people make it so complicated. It's ridiculous.
I'm questioning, like, being a comedian, every once in a while, we've all seen comedians bomb on stage sometimes, right? And so you got to recover from that. So I'm wondering if you've had a workshop that might have bombed. You walk in a room of burnt out, really cynical employees. The company's just announced layoffs or restructuring or something's in the rear window or rear mirror that, like, you're walking into a loaded kind of deck here, and they think you're corporate propaganda. Oh, this market is coming into whatever, so that the room is stacked against you. How do you turn that room around in the first, 5, 10, 15 minutes? And have you ever failed to do it? I'm just curious, you got to dig out.
Oh, yeah. No, you feel it. I mean, having spent as many hours on stage in front of live audiences as I have, you can feel, like, the temperature. You can feel hostility in a room or disinterest or whatever it is. So I try and use humor. I'll acknowledge it. I think if everyone in the room is thinking about these layoffs, that's where I would go first. It's like, we're laying off a bunch of people, or you confront it, and me personally, I try and use humor to let them know I'm on their side. And then we talk about happiness. You know what? Yeah, there's layoffs coming. So if you're miserable and you realize that you hate doing what we do here, figure out what it is that you like to do. And then we'll do a segment in the workshop about figuring that out. Most people, I think, don't realize that they have the keys to their life, right? And they don't spend time even considering what makes me happy, what doesn't make me happy. They just kind of they're sucked along in the vortex. Well, I graduated from college, now I'm going to go do this job because my friend got me the job. And you wake up and you're 50 and you're like, oh my God, my life is miserable. And they play victim.
Yeah.
The beautiful thing is, if your life is miserable, it's your fault. And because it is your fault, you can fix it by
Right.
making better choices. Choices, in my opinion, that should be centered on focusing on happiness.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, it's ridiculously simple conceptually,
Right.
but it can be challenging to do it day after day after day. But once you do it for a while, it becomes easy. And then clearly you enjoy your job. You
Yeah.
enjoy these podcasts. I can see it in your
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. Sure.
You're intellectually engaged and you're really good at it,
Great.
right? If you were doing a job where you didn't interact with people, or you were working somewhere where you were just in a box, you'd be miserable.
Totally
So,
miserable. Mark and I.
right, if you had $1 million Canadian, you'd still be
Yeah.
miserable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A quick story. When I was a kid, I used to paint houses, and I hated when the client left and I was alone in a house painting all day because your brains want to interact, right?
Right.
And it's just I'm rolling paint on walls. So you'd have to play music or you'd go to your mind, right? But
Right.
to your point exactly. A lot of
But
people.
there are some people who prefer to be alone all
Absolutely.
day. So
Absolutely.
those are the people that should be painting the house. You have to
Yeah.
you have to be honest and you have to inventory yourself. And it changes as you get older. Let's say someone's about to turn 60 years old. Their loves and desires and hates are different than when they were 40. So
Yeah.
you have to constantly be checking in with yourself and adjusting the trajectory of your life because we all know, what the last act is. The
Yeah. Yeah.
goal is
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
as much
Yeah.
enjoyment before you get there.
Exactly. Yeah. Interesting too. Like at this workplace now, I've got a guest coming on in a few weeks all about neurodiversity and working with neurodivergent people at work.
Hmm.
Adjusting schedules, and also listening skills, different ways of gearing down what you think you heard and finding a way to thread through it into what you think that person's going to perceive coming out of your mouth. Like it's a very different kind of, I guess it's not as linear as we normally might think. Like this is what I'm going to say, right?
No, it's not
And
linear at all.
right.
And listening is the key to improvisation. It's many of the television shows I've hosted here. I'm interviewing non-celebrities.
Yeah.
With the Travel Channel, I was talking to restaurateurs and entrepreneurs, and you have to listen to sometimes what they're not saying
Yeah.
to figure out what your next question is. You look at their body language.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
different than me talking to you like this. And
Yeah.
you got to find a way to crack that shell and get to the person. And really, we also do listening exercises in the workshop specifically about what you're talking about. You may
Yeah.
think you're giving someone a compliment, but they may hear it as a slam. And
Absolutely.
you have to understand that you can make fun of this guy's shirt, but you can't make fun of that guy's shirt
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
everybody's different.
Yeah. Now, one last question, Mark. I'm just watching the time. I know most of the folks I know are ADHD, so I try to keep these things down to a 15 minute sort of thing. But I've got a question. Let's imagine it's a C-suite. You're talking to CEO, CFO, somebody in there, and they want to talk about the ROI on you coming into the business. When are they going to see a return on their investment? Is it 90 days, 180 days, and how would they be able to track or monetize or measure your impact? Because I'm sure you've had to have that question and justify
Yes,
your
sure.
what you're bringing to the table. Help me out. Imagine I'm that CFO going, how much money do you need? How long is it going to take? What am I going to get for it? And how quickly am I going to get it back?
Okay, a big part of that is what do you do? Are you providing a service? Are you making a product? Are you shipping things? Are you dealing with people face to face? What I can tell you is that SHRM and PIRA and other scholarly groups, universities, there's no debate that spending money on these kinds of programs, employee wellness programs, gives you a minimum return of 150% and up to 500% on some initiatives. So if you're going to spend $1,000, you're going to float your boat by three, four, $5,000. How
Yeah.
that manifests is in better creativity and communications among your teams. If you're an advertising agency, let's say, and you haven't really you keep pitching clients and you keep striking out, that should tell you that there's a problem in your creative, generative process.
Yeah.
Maybe people don't want to be there. Maybe there's friction, intra-team friction. By
Sure.
doing these kind of workshops, I streamline that out. We figure out, maybe this guy shouldn't be in charge of this. Maybe this woman should be the person that runs the meetings and takes the notes. It's a very interpersonal approach. And once we start and people start internalizing what I teach and what I talk about, the benefits accrue quickly. Within a month, you're going to see better ideas. You're going to see better successes, because, again, it sounds silly. People are happy to go to work. They're showing up
Right.
early. They have an idea and they go across the cubicle and they talk to one of their coworkers. You know what? We were talking about this yesterday. I had an idea come. What do you think of this? And you create a culture that is not backstabbing, that
Right.
listens well, and understands that everybody has their own particular specialty, right?
Right.
Lance is the design specialty. Jimmy is the guy that comes up with the weird ideas that the clients will chuckle at and maybe buy into. You
Yeah.
you you take a group and you turn them into a team. And I talk about that at length. There's a difference between a group that's put together by a manager and a
Right.
team. Teams have each other's backs. They work towards a common goal. They don't care who gets the credit, because when they succeed, they all get the credit. Groups are the opposite. I'm not going to tell you my idea now. I'm going to wait till the meeting and I'm going to tell the boss so that I get credit
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
And as a manager, you're handcuffing and crippling yourself because of that. So
Yeah.
the time frame for ROI, it's hard to generalize depending on what the business is, but in the short term and especially the long term, because these people are going to be hanging around longer because they're happier and they're not quitting. The unequivocal data points to increasing in productivity and bottom line. There's no doubt about that, really. So it's just a
Yeah.
matter of who you want to bring in to lay these gems in front of your folks.
Yeah, I love that. I will love that. One last question I want to ask. Is there a pattern? Because you've done this for years and been in many different businesses, looking at, I often find these things, you're kind of getting into the DNA of the leadership, right? The management team, the founder.
Yes.
And that's what
That's
I find
typically
even,
where the problem is, frankly.
well, and that's, where I was tipping to, because it's similar in my business. We often get into the DNA of the leadership when they're looking to hire somebody and we're their search agent, or we find why someone left the job. That often is very telling, right?
Yes.
And so, like a doctor, I'm trying to build a prescription for this patient of mine, so to speak, as an analogy. And so I'm curious, what do successful leaders do differently from your perspective, from what you've seen, that maybe sometimes they don't even realize they're doing?
Successful leaders listen.
Okay, great.
They listen, and
Perfect.
they are not afraid to let other people get credit for their ideas.
Yeah.
I've been on a lot of shows. I've been on Curb. I've been on the Jerry Seinfeld sitcom.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld is not the funniest guy on that show.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He
Clearly.
surrounded himself
Yes.
with brilliant comedy writers and players.
Yeah.
So, and whose name is on the show? Who's making, millions and hundreds of
Yeah.
millions of dollars a year?
Yeah.
By not being afraid of being overshadowed by other people and
Yeah.
collecting the best people you possibly can,
Yeah.
you're the winner, right?
Yeah.
When Johnny Carson was on television, he wasn't always the funniest guy on his show. He would set up his guests so the
Right.
guests look good. But the next
Yeah.
day, what would you say? You'd say,
Yeah.
"Did you see Carson last night?"
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
as a leader, you have to be confident enough in your abilities to surround yourself with people that are better at certain things than you are,
Right.
right?
Right.
Your genius is hiring them and keeping them happy and motivated and corralling all these different stallions to pull your wagon in a cohesive and productive direction. That's the skill set. And when they don't have it, when the people in the C-suite are vindictive or jealous or snipey, it's really difficult to tell them, "Hey, dude, you're the problem.
Yeah.
Here's how we can fix it. Because then, they're mad at me.
Oh,
But,
absolutely. Yeah.
I always call the ball as I see it. And I think anyone that's successful has probably gotten to that position because they are good at something.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
try and find out exactly what you are good at and lean into it. You can't be
Yeah.
good at everything, right?
No, no. Quick anecdote. I remember being on a conference call a long time back, more than a decade ago. We were dealing with a large multinational advertising agency, and we were trying to help them select a very high level vice president, senior vice president, creative director. And the president at the time kind of lost his moment and just started yelling into the speakerphone, into the conference. And we were all dead quiet. He went on quite a rant. I want this. I don't understand what I'm getting. That. And then he stopped and it was dead quiet and nobody spoke. And it was amazing because we're all like, I don't have any power in the room. He is the client. He is the president. So what was amazing was in the silence, I think he gathered himself and then he went, gentlemen, I must apologize for my outbreak. Sometimes I think I'm so right, I don't catch myself, but clearly by your silence, I've just been an ass. It was the greatest thing, right? And I'm like, oh, that's why he's a really good leader because he was able to pick it up and realize I'm way out above my skis right now. I'm talking to 3 experts on the phone and somehow my ego is bigger than, so he gathered us back up and he said,
Self-awareness.
yeah, he said, I apologize. I'm sorry. I kind of do that sometimes. I'm going to shut up now and tell me the 3 things I didn't hear in the last 5 minutes. And I'm like, wow, this is big
That's
power,
a great leader.
right? Like,
that is a great leader. And look at you. This is years later, and you're still like, this is a guy I would follow.
Yeah.
Right.
Still remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to expose your subordinates to that kind of power and ability so that they believe in you. So that if they, you ask them to do something they don't particularly want to do, they will be inclined to go, well, I don't understand it, but you know what? He's probably right. Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
As opposed to a leader that everybody hates. Some leaders try and cultivate that fear. They think that motivates people.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't buy that. The data does not support that. What motivates people is being involved in an enterprise where they are heard and their ideas are respected, and they feel that they can raise their hand in a meeting and say something incredibly stupid and they won't get crapped on. And oftentimes, especially if you're trying to think outside the box, every other business is inside the box.
Yeah.
So your ideas have to be in the margins. And most of them are going to be bad, but sometimes a really bad idea could make someone else go, hey, you know what? It shouldn't be a monkey eating a pencil. It's a fish eating a pencil. And it's again, that going back to improvisation, it sparks a group creativity blast that ultimately leads to a great out of the box idea that would never occur if people felt afraid to speak because they're going to be vilified or made fun of.
You
got to be able to just to say whatever.
Absolutely. Mark, if people want to find you, obviously you're on LinkedIn. I think your website is Mark DeCarlo, and that's DeCarlo.com.
It's Mark DeCarlo Speaker. Mark
Speaker.com.
DeCarlo Speaker. Yes.
Awesome.
And
awesome.
LinkedIn, I think I'm just Mark DeCarlo on LinkedIn. And I've really enjoyed this conversation, Lance. You're really good at this.
I have enjoyed it very much as well. Hopefully we can do another one at some point. I'm sure we could talk for an hour, but I think our, the average ADHD listener or watcher out there is like probably on 3 screens at the same time going, Mark DeCarlo, cool. And then, 5 things dropped in their inbox on Shopify and they're gone. You know what I mean? Anyways.
And I got to order lunch.
Yes. I really appreciate having you on the show. Great to see you. Lovely to chat with you. And hopefully we can do it again down the road and pick another relevant topic. And I think what you said today was fantastic. I really love having you on the show, Mark.
Ditto, Lance. Really great conversation. I would love to be on anytime you'd like to talk to somebody down south of the border.
Excellent. Thanks. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.